All right, what's going on, family? This is your man G for District E, Gavin Richard. Now, y'all caught me walking today. I'm walking around my neighborhood, my block, since I can't make it to the gym. It's been a little while since I've been recording. Of course, I got a couple of things on my mind that I like to get off my chest. Some things non-campaign related, some things campaign related. But I think this is a priority. I saw earlier this week out at Delta University, I believe this is in Mississippi somewhere, the city is Columbus, Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. But 21-year-old Trey Reed from Grenada was found hanging from a tree in a pickleball court. And most recently, according to the official autopsy that I just read, they have declared it to be a suicide. Now, I don't know this young man. I am not aware of all the facts and circumstances. From what I have seen in the news and just what I've read, nobody or anybody, people that do know him, I should say, have all stated that he was a great guy, and there were no signs that he was depressed, that he was basically suicidal. Now, I'm not a cop. I am an attorney, defense attorney. I know the family has hired Ben Crump and so forth, and I read they're declaring an independent autopsy. But I will say this, and this is not me speaking as a politician trying to get a vote. This is not me speaking trying to get clicks and views. This is just my opinion. There is always more to the story. This seems odd. And I can remember even in the 90s, there was an incident, and I can't think of the gentleman's name, that escapes me, but they tried to say it was also a suicide of a black man in Mississippi. And I remember this might have been in the early 2000s. It was in the late 90s, early 2000s, because I remember distinctly this family being on Queen Latifah's talk show. Yeah, she had a talk show even in the early 2000s. And the family was questioning the cause of death of their loved one, because he was also found hanging from a tree. Mississippi has a thing with black men hanging from trees. We all know that. We know the history of that and this environment we're in. So I think there needs to be, my family that's up there in Delta, at Delta University, people in Mississippi, just like we did almost 20 years ago. It's hard to believe, with the Jenna 6 popping off and everybody trucked to Jenna to demand the release of those 6 teenagers. I think it's time some brothers showed up there in Columbus, not to be violent, of course. I don't promote violence, but to promote and demand justice. Brothers and sisters, I think we need to demand a full, thorough investigation, especially out of that county, away from that county, to look into this man's death. The Attorney General of Mississippi, I believe and I remember, her name is on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry. I can't remember your name. It's my head. It's not my heart. I got a lot on my plate. But that Attorney General also needs to, somebody needs to look into this. They need to look into it. Now, that Attorney General, I remember writing a letter to the Attorney General a few years ago when Emmett Till's murderer, let's just call it like that. Hey, they call O.J. Simpson a murderer even though he was acquitted. We can call Carolyn Bryant Dunham a murderer because she was involved in his kidnapping. By all intents and purposes, from the evidence that I saw, the information that I've read, the testimony of Emmett's uncle. And long story short, I actually sent a letter to the Attorney General before Carolyn Bryant Dunham passed to try and get that case reopened, because there was an active warrant for her arrest. Of course, they didn't grant it. They didn't follow it. It wasn't executed. And it sat in the records of the clerk of court in Mississippi in a basement for almost 70 years. Let's just put it, it was well over 60-something years, and then she passes away. You know, this was the 70th anniversary of Emmett's murder. Now, I'm saying all of this stuff, and of course, I'm sorry if I'm not speaking fast enough, but there needs to be, I said there needs to be a thorough investigation. The feds also have to get involved into this, and I know that they said they're turning over all the files to the FBI and so forth. I don't know if the FBI is going to even do anything, but definitely we should all get together. There has to get an independent investigation going, private eyes even, to look into this story, because for a 21-year-old, and whether he's a foundational Black American or not, you know, I know the history of men of color, Black, who particularly of my hue, Black men who get lynched in the state of Mississippi, and not just in the state of Mississippi, but we're talking in the South in general, and hell, America in general, because it happens all over America. It wasn't just limited to the South. Lynches were not just limited to the South. And for that man to die on a college campus, and I'd like to know what his grades were. From what I heard, he was a good student. It's unbelievable that we have this in 2025, that we're talking about a possible lynching, but it goes on. So that's just my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't want to make this really a campaign video. That's not what I intend to do. I wanted to just state my position on this young man, Trey Reed. I believe there was also another lynching, purported. These are purported lynchings. I know they're not official, but there was another person, Black man, that was found hanging from a tree. From what I read briefly about, I just saw the headline, and I'm going to look into that story. But rest in peace to Trey Reed. My heart goes out to his family. I hope that they get answers, because no one should lose their loved one like this in mysterious circumstances, especially someone 21 years of age. That's just, you know, I was 21 at one time. God, that was almost 17, 18 years ago. But that's just my 2 cents, guys. And I want to know what y'all think. But yeah, we all got to rise up. Let's go to Mississippi. If we got to drive up there in buses, we can rent some buses and go up there go to the Attorney General in the state of Mississippi and ask for a full investigation into this. This cannot be tolerated, ladies and gentlemen. Not in 2025. Another one last thing I want to say, of course, you can't bring firearms on college campuses. You just can't do that. But you certainly can exercise your Second Amendment rights. You can certainly own a gun in your home. You can certainly, in some states, be mindful of the concealed carry laws. Of course, in Louisiana, we don't need concealed carry permits anymore. But you can also, and in some states, there's open carry, where you're openly carrying like a shotgun on your back or anything like that. I encourage people to exercise their Second Amendment rights, and that doesn't mean go flaunting and taunting your gun everywhere. No, that means arming and protecting yourself, because you never know what can happen. You don't know who can roll up on you. And, you know, obviously that brother is on a college campus, and who knows what happened. But I certainly want a thorough investigation. I don't want to jump to conclusions, of course, but it doesn't fit well with my spirit. And I don't think it fits well with your spirit, too, if you know the history of Black men in America, especially dealing with the state of Mississippi. That's all I got to say, ladies and gentlemen. And be one, be safe, and be blessed. Thank you.